Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome back, dear students. In this video, I should tell you about different types of essays and how to write them. But before I start, can you tell me what is essay? Remember, I taught you in previous lecture. Okay, let me tell you. An essay is a group of paragraphs that develops one central idea. All the time, remember that essay develops one central idea. Okay, so it is far more formal than a paragraph. Like the number of paragraphs in an essay depends on the complexity of the topic. So there are 2 or 3, 4, 5, but commonly there are 5 paragraphs in an essay. So let's move on. Whenever we talk about the types of essays, I can think of even 60 types of essays, 100 types of essays. There are different in many types of essays. I may not be wrong if I say that the number of essays are limitless or countless. There are many, right? But the most common one are 5. First, narrative essay. Second, persuasive essay. Third, descriptive essay. Fourth, analytical essay. And fifth, informative essay. We studied one of them, narrative essay. Now I will take a pause for 5 seconds so that you can think of the narrative essays that I taught you in previous class. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's talk about persuasive essay. What is persuasive essay, and how do you define persuasive essay? So the word persuasive is taken from the word persuade. So the verb form of persuasive is persuade. So the original word is persuade, which means to convince, to cause to believe, or to satisfy someone. Whenever you try to convince someone or you cause to make someone decide to do something, especially by giving them reasons why they should do it, or asking them many times to do it. So it means that you give them convincing, logical, and rational reasons so they can come into an agreement with you. Okay, so now let's move on. You can read the slide by yourself. So let's move ahead. Before we start essay, I would like to give you some tips writing on persuasive essays. Do not forget it. The persuasive essay is also known as an opinion essay. In some books, it's also called a argumentative essay, while the other books says that no, there are differences between argumentative essays and persuasive essays. So there are a lot of discussions in this, while most of them are almost the same. Okay. Now let me give you some tips for writing an essay. The first step you should take into account is take a clear position. All the time remember that while you are writing a persuasive essay, you should be constant on giving reasons. You have to give convincing reasons, and you should be constant on them. You don't have to jump from reasons to reasons. For example, you just mentioned one reason and you didn't elaborate that reason, and you moved to another one without explaining the first one. You left the first one away and you jumped to another reason. Well, this way it's not going to be very useful for the reader. This way the reader will not be able to will not be able to understand what you are trying to tell or to them. Okay, so he will not be able to take away this easy and simple message from your writing. Okay, second thing is be clear. I told you it's quite related to the first one. Be clear. Whenever you explain something, you shouldn't be vague. You don't have to leave things blurry. Explain them and give them examples so that the reader can take away an example pretty easily. So and consider your audience. As we in public speaking, we mostly say that before you start delivering speech or giving speech to the audience, you have to analyze them. It's similarly here with that. So you have to consider the audience before you write. You should think of the audience, that who will be reading and what will be his education background and blah blah blah, and how much is he interested in the topic that I'm trying to convince him. Like for example, you're writing to someone who has a zero level of interest in your persuasion, but you are trying to convince him, well, I'm sure that he will not take any interest in your writing. So you should study the person. If the persuasion, or if this motivation is related to him and he is concerned with this motivation, you should jump on and explain it to him. So these were some tips you should think beforehand writing an essay. Now let's talk about parts of an essay. So essay, in parts of essay, I would say that the first part is introduction part, in which you get the reader's attention and introduce the topic to them. You can all the time grab the attention of the reader by giving them a full introduction of the topic. So grab his attention by the introduction. So it depends upon you how solid introduction you give to the reader so that you can grab his attention. The second thing is a background, which we also say the developmental paragraphs and supporting paragraphs. In the background, you should try to help the reader understand the importance and controversy of the issue. Remember one thing, that in persuasive essay, we mostly discuss the controversial topics which are opposite of one another, right? Topics which has both sides, the negative and the positive side. Topic which has different propositions. So when you have all these things, it means you have to help the reader understand the importance and controversy of the issue. Again, I would say that you don't have to be blurry, explain them and help them. Last one is a thesis statement. Do not forget that thesis statement is your main idea or your opinion. We talked about the characteristic of thesis statement, and it's placed in the introductory paragraph. Introductory paragraph is made of two parts. The first is general statement, and the second is thesis statement. Now we studied what's thesis statement and what are general statements in the previous lecture. So remember, these are the parts of persuasive paragraphs. Now I hope you understood. Now the question is how to write a persuasive essay. Before I start giving you some tips about writing a persuasive essay, I would like to come and explain the persuasive essay briefly to you. So as we say that persuasive essay is a type of essay where you have to give your opinion about the topic. It means your opinion matters a lot in the persuasive essay. All the time try to focus on your opinion, try to come up with a convincing, rational and logical reasons so that you can convince the reader. You say that where you have to give your opinion about the topic you are being provided with. In this type of essay, in this type of essay, it means in persuasive essays, you have to convince the reader about your opinion and provide some evidence for the support of your essay. Let me give you an example so we can talk about that later on. So the example of the persuasive essay would be that does social media create isolation, or is society too dependent on the technology? So what do you think of this one? So you have to, like in persuasive writing, tells your opinion. It tells your opinion. So say your opinions, share your opinions about the topic which is given here. This is an example for a persuasive essay. Now, how you develop this essay, it's up to you. So I would say that, a persuasive essay is basically your opinion, as I repeatedly say this, that persuasive essay is basically your opinion about a certain topic. The topic is here, like media or social media is a topic here. So, or an issue. For example, when you are asked about writing on this topic, like does social media create isolation, then you have to put your view after either or supporting or negotiating the topic. You can put your views on this topic, that although social media is a great way to remain connected with your childhood friends who are residing all over the world, but still using social media excessively, it is harmful for the psychological and physical health of any person. So persuasive writing must lead to precise conclusion about the topic, and you have to convince the readers about your opinion and its validity. All the time, whenever I think of whenever I think of the persuasive writing, I think of the convincing the reader. How could I convince my reader to agree with me? right? So now this is all I think about. It's all on my mind, that how should I convince the reader about my topic. The best writing, I repeat this in every class, the best writing, and I say it to my students, the best writing is the writing in which the writer and the reader take away the same message. Their requirement match with one another, right? Okay, so now this was all about our persuasive paragraph. Persuasive essay. Thank you so much for taking out your time in order to listen to this lecture. Inshallah, in coming classes I'll be teaching you another lecture, which is going to be one of the types of essays. So once again, thank you so much. If you have any questions, any suggestions, objections, I welcome you to my inbox. You can leave your question there, and I'll try my best to provide you great answers to your questions. Anyhow, and I will just attach the essay samples, persuasive essay samples, alongside the video. You can pick up with yourself. Okay, thank you so much, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.